Welcome back to another episode of Church Ball. On today's show, we do mailbag questions. We answer your questions from Twitter and via email. We answer and get to all of them today. We also talk about some news and notes, Kevin Young at Big-12 Media Days, and also Boscovich and Yegor's eligibility question marks. Some of those were answered this week. We talk about that and what that means going forward. Let's go ahead and get to the show. We're back, Chase. We're back. We're recording right now, Friday, October 25th. We still don't have basketball for another week and a half, Chase. We still don't have real games for another week and a half.
We don't. I mean, the NBA's back, so that curved a little bit of our itch, but we want college hoops, man. We want this college ball. Come on.
We need some real BYU basketball games. And plus, they start off, it's not real basketball games to start off. I'll just call it like it is. We've got Central Arkansas. At least we'll get a look, especially next week at the preseason game. I don't know if that game's actually being televised or not, but at least we'll get a good look at that team. We'll be in the building for that one. If it's not televised, we'll make sure to do another live reaction to a real game, not a scrimmage for once. So we'll be in the building for that one, Chase, but let's start off with some news and notes today.
News and notes. Let's get right into it, Carter. Talk about the first thing. We have eligibility update.
Yep. Eligibility update. Go ahead.
It's been reported. There was some nervousness amongst fans or maybe people within the program that Yegor and Boscovich were not going to get to play. But it seems now, at least it's been reported, that Yegor's fine. He's going to be able to play. Boscovich is still up in the air, though.
Yep. Yeah, it seems like Boscovich, if you're going to ask me to give a range on the possibility, I would say it's 50-50 he plays this season, to be honest.
Yeah. They say he was listed as a junior because of his age. You know, he hasn't been in college, but he's older. I don't know the technical, like, why things aren't working out for him, but that's kind of what we know right now.
So does that mean he has to still take, like, American Heritage, physical science? Does he get to skip those, or does he get to go directly into his major since he gets classified as a junior?
Now he's got to take Book of Mormon 1 and 2. No.
Ooh. Oh, no.
Physical science.
Yeah, we don't need to get started on some religion classes here. But, yeah, it looks like the number one thing that was making sure Yegor was good to go, and also if BYU was going to put up the money that they did and they were going to make sure to bring in a high-profile recruit like Yegor Demon, they were going to make sure it was all done and ready to go. Bosco seemed like a little bit more of a last second. We need a big man. Let's see if we can get this guy, and we'll find out.
Yeah, well, you and I both talked about a couple podcasts ago when we watched the blue versus white scrimmage. Boscovich looked really good. He could definitely be a piece to this team. So I won't say, it's not a little bit of a loss. Like, this team would like to have Boscovich there playing, available when the season comes around and when you get into the dog days of February. But it wouldn't be the end of the world like it would if Yegor Demon wasn't able to play. So there's silver lining here. We hope he gets to play. We hope we get to see him. If not, then we'll surely see him next year and maybe even another year after that, depending how things shake out.
Yeah, and I really think that's all there is to add to that, because we can't really speculate anymore because no one really knows what's even going on, including the coaching staff. It's all down to NCAA compliance and all the compliance people at BYU working it out, trying to figure out how they can get him to play. So, but the number one positive here is there's no questions. Yegor's going to play. He's going to play day one. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting, the difference. Yegor seemed to move through pretty okay, but Boscovich not. They kind of came from the same spot. I mean, Yegor's younger, but they both were just playing professional European ball and wanted to go to college. And for some reason, it's really working out for Yegor. Again, I don't know the technicalities behind it, but it seems like if you're a surefire lottery pick, I think there's odds are pretty good that the NCAA is going to push you through and you're going to be able to play.
And also, I wonder how much of it's timing, because Yegor, all that stuff was early summer and whatnot, and Boscovich, he committed in August?
It was beginning of August. So yeah, he was very
beginning
late.
Of August. So it might just be a timing thing. The other point is the NCAA is a joke. Like, let's just call it like it is. What are we doing here? Like, how does this entity still have power over these schools? Like college football, these fellas are playing. There's no questions about it. These guys are just going to play. It's so frustrating with this NCAA stuff, man.
What's interesting, I think, is college basketball is the only sport where you grab overseas guys. Maybe I mean, in football you
Soccer,
have like
tennis.
the punters. Yeah, soccer and tennis maybe, right? If you have some really talented cats, but even then, like we don't know much what's going on over there. It's not in the spotlight that basketball is.
Yeah, and who knows what the recruiting's like for tennis, college tennis.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you want to
I
spend
don't
30
know.
minutes on college tennis? Because we
We could
could.
do that. No, I mean we had some mailbag questions, but we could skip that and end up doing some college tennis recruiting and talk about Australia. A lot of recruits coming out of there.
It's a
I have no
breeding ground
idea.
for punters and tennis players, man.
In rugby, yeah, there we go. But yeah, it's all done. That's good to go. Other news and notes. They had Big 12 Media Days. Not a lot of big-time quotes coming out of Big 12 Media Days this week. And also, it was very much put together very last second because nobody received an email. There was no word of it happening until 7 days prior, 8 days prior.
Yeah, it seemed very quick. Seemed very. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a big production. Football media days. You and I were there. It was huge, and it was like announced months before, and it was a big deal. Basketball was very and I'm shocked because I feel like football is always king, but basketball is kind of the Big 12's thing. Like this is that's their sport. That's what they're the best at, and this is what you had to offer for media days. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, there was not a lot. BYU had Trevenel and Fus Traore there. Let's just say they're experienced guys, and they're not going to say any quotes that will grab the headlines and cause any kind of controversy. They know what they're doing when it comes to media training, so we
Yeah.
didn't get a lot there. And Kevin Young, you guys have seen a Kevin Young press conference too. Not going to say anything to get him in trouble. But the one thing I did take away from, you could tell at Big 12 Media Days, that dude is so done with preseason and all this crap. This guy just wants to play ball and let's just get the season rolling. Like, what are we doing? It's like me sitting there at a basketball game or a football game waiting for a stupid TV timeout to end. I'm sitting here just like, can we please play some football? Oh, my goodness. We got 2 minutes and 12 seconds left. I cannot watch another timeout production.
Yeah. Again, like we didn't get a lot of quotes, videos. The biggest video that came out was just a pan over of all the coaches talking, and in the middle of all of them.
If you're watching
Go
on
ahead.
YouTube right now, I'll include the video as you're watching right here.
There you go. So as you can see, all these coaches are talking, jawing it up. Kevin Young is standing there like Ashton Jainty in the backfield, getting ready to run over some dudes, talking to no one. And that was like the biggest story out of media days. It's like Kevin Young wasn't really chatting it up with dudes. Again, it's like a 5-second video. So who knows? Maybe he had just finished, whatever. But the vibe was, and the thing people are taking away was Kevin Young's not John with other coaches. Maybe he doesn't feel like fit in. He's the new guy, whatever it is. He's ready to play some ball.
Yeah, I feel like the more you dive into this, the more you sound like girls gossiping about other girls, and so you're like,
Yep.
oh, well, I don't like Bill Self, Scott Drew, Kelvin Sampson. These are the high level Tommy Lloyd. These are the high level recruiters in this conference, and they're looking at him like, they're going to steal our guys away from us.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, if you're a coach, right, you don't know anything about Kevin Young. Hasn't been in the college basketball game at all. So I'm assuming he doesn't have a lot of connections amongst those guys who, again, you have guys like Scott Drew and Bill Self. They're like hugging right next to him and hanging out and having a good time because they've been coaching against each other for years. And then you have like the group of Pac-12 rejects off to the other side. And you have Kevin Young, right? He's been in the NBA pretty much his whole career. He's out here taking some of the best recruits. What are you going to do? Like, again, it's like high school. I mean, he looked like me at a high school party, just standing there with his hands in his pockets. Just who knows what he was doing, right? But I'm sure people talk to him. It's just this 5-second clip. It's whatever. But he is new to the game, right? And he is a guy who is a little bit of an unknown. We don't know what his coaching style exactly is going to look like. We don't know what the head coach in him is going to be. But from what we understand, what we know, Karter, you and I, and talking to him and seeing him, he's going to fit that role perfectly. He looks like a head coach already. He hasn't built the relationships yet with the rest of the Big 12.
Yeah, and I really don't have much more to add to this because it was a 5-second clip, and I guarantee you, right after that 5-second clip ended, Kelvin Sampson or whoever went up to Kevin Young and said, "Hey, coach, how you doing? Coach Sampson here." And they started talking. It was just a literal 5-second clip that probably means nothing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And it kind of was indicative of that Big 12 media days. Like, I don't know what's going on. Everyone's just standing around talking. Kevin Young's got his hands in his pockets. Doesn't look like he wants to be there. Don't blame you, coach.
Yep.
Don't blame you.
And that's about it. And let's get into some mailbag questions, but let's do that right after the break. Chase, let's do some mailbag questions. First one, email coming in here. If you got a free trip to a BYU road basketball game this year, where are you going and why?
All right. Love this question, by the way, and love everyone who sent questions. Thank you, guys. Keep it up.
Shout out.
We love the comments. This one, I feel bad. You let me go first, Karter. I feel like we were thinking the same thing. I would love to go to that Providence Big 12 Big East battle game up there in Rhode Island.
Oh,
is that not what you were thinking?
That's not my. No, that's not what I was thinking, because I don't know if I want to go to I don't think I want to go to Rhode Island in December.
Well, it wouldn't be much of a vacation. It'd be a strictly a hoops thing. But hey, make a trip out of it. Kick it up to Boston. Go watch the dominating Celtics. And go watch BYU play Big East basketball in an awesome venue up there in Providence, in a team who's got a great young coach. Will not be a pushover in an awesome environment. I think that's what I would take. Just it'd be so different. It's very unique to have BYU travel out there. It's going to be more common now with these Big 12 Big East things that they do every year. But that would be awesome. That'd be my pick.
Purely from a basketball point of view, I think I would choose Providence. Maybe we'll see. Just because it's so different, and is this game ever going to happen again? Probably not. This game's probably not going to be played in Providence. Maybe you sneak on over to Boston for a Celtics game while you're there too. Who knows? But my pick's the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, going to Tucson is the game of the year, in my opinion, for the road games. That would be awesome. You go to Arizona in February. It's cold as crap in Utah. You're freezing your butt off. And then you can go to Arizona, warm and sunny. Go watch some Arizona versus BYU basketball. Also, Arizona State. Those games are like right next to each other. So maybe a little 2-for-1 there. But Arizona's the game. I've wanted to go to the McHale Center forever now. I think I am going to go to that game, Chase.
All right. Sweet. Well, you have to let us know how it is. We'll do a little live from the McHale Center. Yeah,
we both go? Maybe we get a presenting sponsor to send us to that game. How about that? Do you have a question from the email as well?
Yeah, we do have a question from email. Again, no name on this one, but if you had to choose right now, who has a better chance of winning the Big 12, BYU football or BYU basketball?
It's got to be BYU football. It's got to be BYU football because, they're a 2-point underdog against UCF tomorrow. Historically, it doesn't typically work out for BYU football in this way. There's still a long season to go, but they're already 7-0 with 2 very, very impressive wins. And this team goes 3-2. They're probably in the Big 12 title game. And then they just have to win a one-off game against either a Kansas State team that they already beat or Iowa State, who they've looked very vulnerable and shaky throughout this season. So I would 100% say the Big 12 football.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and zag here. And I actually think it's BYU basketball has a better chance. First off, logically, right, BYU football needs to probably only have one loss to get in here to the Big 12 championship game, whereas basketball, you can have technically as many losses as you want. You're going to be in the tournament, right? So you're going to have a shot to win it. I also just think the firepower with this basketball team, the potential is there. We also don't know what they look like, and they could be someone who's up there. Football, you and I have kind of been on this all year. If any of you guys have read our stuff or listened to us in other spaces, we've been super pessimistic about this football team. We know they're going to fall at some point. It's just what BYU does. Don't worry, we're rooting for them. I'm going to the UCF game here tomorrow, but it's inevitably going to happen. This BYU football team is going to drop one. Basketball has a better chance, though it'd be hard. They're going to be in the tournament. They're going to be in Kansas City. They're going to be in full swing as a team. Everything will have gelled and meshed, and they'll have a good chance of run on that table. So we'll see. How about both, Carter? How
Yeah.
about both of them?
How about both? What if you just parlayed them together, Chase? We could retire tomorrow.
We probably could. That's how insane the odds would be.
Yeah, football though, it's such a weaker conference this year overall, and that's why any one-on-one game, and it's just one game. Once they get there, it's just a one game thing, and you can win it. It's neutral site, doesn't matter.
Sure.
Basketball, you got to win 3-4 in a row in 3-4 days, and then you have the NCAA tournament looming a week later. That's why I'm like, and also the Big 12 conference is so freaking good in basketball. That's why I think I got to get Big 12 football there. But great question there. Let's go to Twitter real quick, and then we'll do one more question, do a quick break, and then we'll finish up some more mailbag questions. From Kinchin Taylor, shout out on Twitter. NC State guy, ACC guy, follows me on Twitter. He said, with such a top-heavy Big 12 this year, like we just mentioned, what are realistic expectations for BYU going into this season?
All right, great question. Again, BYU is picked 9th in the Big 12. So if you want to say that's their expectation, that's probably being very realistic. And maybe even being a little pessimistic about this team based on what you and I have seen. We've been high on them since we started this podcast. I think realistic expectation is to finish somewhere in the 8 to 6 or 5 range in the Big 12 standings. I think that is where this team is going to settle. I think they have the potential to be even higher. I think anything less than 9, where they're projected to be at, is actually disappointing. So I definitely would see them in the upper echelon, top half of the Big 12. But like this question states wisely, right, this is a top-heavy Big 12. I mean, we don't even have to go through all the names of coaches, players, and programs that BYU is going to have to face in order to battle and jostle at the top for some position in Big 12 standings. However, we do think this BYU team has the talent. We think they have a great coach. They also have a bunch of hype around them, right, and momentum going for the program as a whole. And so I think realistically, the 8 to 6 range in the Big 12 is probably where they're going to be ending up.
Yeah, I think that's the realistic expectation. It's get a bye in the Big 12 tournament. Finish top 9. Make sure that you are not playing on – if you're playing on Tuesday of the Big 12 tournament, that is a real problem, and that is a very, very disappointing season. If they're playing on Wednesday, depending on where they're at, that's a solid season. If you're starting your Big 12 tournament on Thursday, that's an excellent, huge season right there. I think that's the way to look at it because, like you said, the Big 12 is awesome this year. A couple of teams I'm not as high on in the Big 12, but we can get into that in another show. I'm not as high on all these Big 12 teams. We saw in the tournament how they performed last year, so I'm a little skeptical towards the Big 12. But I'm an ACC guy, Chase.
Yeah, we know.
I know it's tough out here in these streets. Let's take another quick break, and then we'll be back and finish up some mailbag questions. Chase, let's finish up some mailbag questions. Let's start here with. Should we go Tyler? Should we go Grant? Let's go with Grant real quick. How about that?
All right, Grant.
Shout out Grant from campus. How does Dawson Baker fit into the lineup this year? Is he healthy? And he also mentioned something, another comment that we'll get to a little later.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing there. Great question, Grant. Shout out Grant. Used to be my eldest quorum president, so good friend Grant. Another great question. Dawson Baker. All right, we didn't get to see him at all last year, except for was it one game, Carter, I believe, and he showed some flashes, and maybe we were like, this guy is awesome, and we have stuff, right? He's been shown and known to be a guy who can create his own shot, an elite shooter from deep, can handle the ball a little bit. The problem is, like, everyone else on this basketball team's also really good, right? And they can also handle the ball and shoot the ball. Dawson's not a starter, and I don't think there'd be too many scenarios where we see him start a game this season unless there's a lot of injuries or if they just love the matchup. Dawson's the kind of guy who can be a legitimate 6-man, probably more realistically 7 or 8, coming in there, being a knockdown shooter and maybe a ball handler in a crisis situation. Definitely if the shooting lineup, if it becomes to a point in a game where you need free throw shooters in or you need a 3-point shot in, I would expect Dawson to get the nod there and be getting in the game in order to hit a big shot for the team. The real thing here is him and Trevin Nell, how are they going to fit together both as teammates? And you know what, Karter? I think you have some thoughts on that because we've talked about this before. I'm going to let you share the Trevin Nell and Dawson Baker together thoughts.
Yeah. So in the scrimmage, you could see if you listened to a couple episodes ago, you remember when we did the blue-white scrimmage recap or whatever, the reaction that all the players who are in the same position group, they paired up together, they warm up together, and clearly Dawson and Trevin are competing for time against each other. The thing about Dawson Baker is him and Trevin Nell, whoever's hot that night, that's who's playing. That's as simple as that. If that person's knocking down threes that night, they're going to play. If they're not knocking down threes, they're not going to play. It's vanilla analysis. It's simple, but it's true because there's too much talent around this team. And if you're a potential defensive liability, then you're not going to remain on the court as long if you're not bringing something big on the offensive side of the ball, like you're red hot from three. So, you said, though, he has the ability, if in a crisis situation, he could bring up the ball in a game if they needed him to. So there's that. He is healthy, by the way. I want to point that out there on the question as well. He is healthy, but he's just a knockdown shooter, man. He's someone that seems like he's going to be a streaky shooter. He might not be as streaky as Trevin Nell because Trevin Nell, it feels like it's either he nails 6 threes or 1 3. It's like watching Klay Thompson right now. He starts off for the Mavs hitting 6 threes in a game. You're like, oh my goodness. And then next game, you're like, what happened? You never know. So I would go with, I think it's just whoever's hot that night's going to play.
Yeah, not to try and pit them against each other. I think Dawson does bring a little bit more to the table than Trevin, being able, like we said, he can actually, he got a mid-range game. He's got a little bit of a driving game, and he's more secure with the handle.
But I would say Trevin Nell's ceiling's a little higher because he is truly
shooting
capable.
Wise,
that dude can hit 10 threes in a game, but his floor is also definitely there where he could hit 0 threes in a game.
Yeah.
So
agree.
There's that. Awesome. All right, I love it. Let's go to another question right now. Let's pull this up right here. Ollie CFB report. I hope I said that right, buddy. But shout out this guy. He retweets all of our tweets, follows us. This guy, awesome.
Shout
follow on Twitter. You should follow him at BYU Fan A on Twitter. Who will be BYU's leader in points, rebounds, and assists, and who will be the 6-man? Loaded question there. I'll let you start, Chase. So let's go points real quick.
Points. Look, it's easy to say Yegor Demon because of all the talent. He's going to have the ball a ton. He's going to be able to get his shots up. I'd say dark horse candidate for points, Cannon Catchings. He could end up being that wing Jackson Robinson type who is just, he's not afraid to shoot the ball. That's for dang sure if we learn anything from the scrimmage, right? He's also really good at it. So he can put the ball in the hoop, and he can end up getting a lot of volume. I think a lot of sets will be run for him, and he'll be knocked down. So Yegor probably, dark horse, Cannon Catchings.
I would go with Yegor as well. He's probably the odds-on favorite to do so. But my dark horse would be, what if just Keba Keita just messed around and was like a 17-10 guy? With all the pick and rolls, none of these buckets are going to be outside of 5 feet. All of these are going to be layups and dunks. But let's see. Maybe he just messes around and we see him average 16, 17 a game because there's so many dudes on this team that good. I feel like we're just going to see a lot of balanced scoring on this team. I don't think that's what's so awesome about this team. I don't think we're going to see a guy that's one's averaging 21 and the rest of them are averaging 13, 10, 9, 7, something like that. I feel like it's going to be a lot of averaging 12 to 15, 16 a game kind of guys.
Yeah, between like 4 guys. Yeah, I agree. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Fouche Traore led, I don't know if he led the entire season, but there's a lot of games where he led the team in points. So Keba Keita could be that guy getting a lot of rebounds, lobs, stuff inside. Yeah.
Rebounds, going Keita, right? No question there.
No question. Yeah, Keba Keita is going to lead the team in rebounds. He's the starter. He's the big man. He's got it.
Assists, I think it's Yegor, no question about it in my mind. You could say maybe down, depending on who gets the point guard nod, but it seems like Yegor is going to get that spot. Chase and who is going to be the 6th man on this BYU basketball team?
The 6th man of this BYU basketball team is going to be Richie Saunders. does he end up not starting? If he doesn't, it's definitely going to be Richie. If Richie does end up getting the starting nod, I could see someone like Moet Mag being the sixth man coming in and kind of relieving that Richie role, or being a defender in big situations, or another big guy, more of a true four, than Cannon or someone else who gets that starting nod. So I think one of those two guys are going to end up being the sixth man.
I feel like you can never choose a big man as a six man for some reason. I feel like it always has to be like a 1-3 type guy, but I'll take Foose. I think Foose is going to play a lot of big minutes if Kaba gets into foul trouble. Like we're still going to see a heavy dose of Foose. Assuming Boscovich might not be playing, I would say Foose, but Boscovich is another great answer here as well if he ends up being able to play.
Yeah, absolutely. It would probably need to develop later on into the season, but he could end up being that first guy off the bench for them. Great question.
I love it. All right. Let's do two more and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I'll read this one for you, Carter, so you can answer first. This is from Dane on Twitter at the Nudson or Nudison. I don't know if I read that right. Sorry, Dane. Another great Twitter guy. We love our friend Dane. All right, this is a long question, so I'm gonna give it to you in parts, Carter. Here we go. What's the biggest strength of this team compared to last year, and what's their biggest weakness?
I'll go quick here. Our biggest strength is being able to put out any type of lineup they want with the size. They can have a lineup of all 6'9" dudes, 6'8", 6'9" dudes realistically. They can play small ball. They can play any type of way and against any type of team. That's their biggest strength this year. Biggest weakness? Probably size underneath, which is ironic because Keba Keita, he's only 6'7", 6'8". In that lineup, he would be the smallest guy on the floor. Him and Yegor are essentially the same size height-wise. I think he plays a lot bigger than he actually is, but I would say, like having a 7-foot rim protector is probably their biggest weakness, but that's really about it for all I see.
Love it. I think I'll be even quicker. Biggest strength, offense. This team's going to score the basketball, put the ball in the hoop. They're going to put up a lot of points this season. Biggest weakness, again, we don't know for sure, but I could see the defense being a little bit, can they stay in front of ball handlers, these quick guards in the Big-12, right? And being able to close out the three-point line. And again, like having an elite rim protector. We think Keba Keita can do it. He can jump out of the gym, but again, he's a little undersized. But that's just us speculating.
So what I'm hearing is for BYU fans who are like, I like to gamble a little bit. You never know. You're like, go over to MGM and you're like, oh, BYU total over in this game. Boom. I think that's what I'm hearing out of you, Chase.
If I was to say anything about that, that's probably what I would be saying. Yeah, something along those lines
just
for
put
sure.
That out there.
All right, the next part of this question: how do you see the differences in coaching styles of Kevin Young and Mark Pope playing out when comparing last year's squad to this year's squad, at least what we're projecting them to be?
So this is an interesting question because I've talked about this on the podcast where we haven't seen what Kevin Young's offense actually looks like because you can't pinpoint to that Phoenix Suns team last year because there was no real offense being ran. It was, hey, Kevin Durant, you're awesome. Here's the ball. Hey, Devin Booker, you're awesome. Here's the ball. Let's do a lot of ISO ball, and if we get trapped, let's kick it out to Grayson Allen in the corner for a three. That was what their offense was last year. Now, I hope and pray that is not the offense BYU runs. And as we saw in the scrimmage, it doesn't seem like it. I think the difference in this one is the lineups are so different that Pope had. Pope was almost forced to play the way they did last season where they have to shoot a lot of threes. They didn't have really anybody that was a one-on-one, I can go get you a bucket kind of guy. And Kevin Young has that. So I think BYU fans are going to be a little alarmed when the ball stops a little bit more, but I think that's a positive thing at some points because at some points when the game gets tight, the crowd's loud, you need a guy that can go one-on-one and go get you a bucket like a Yegor, like a Cannon. So I think that's the biggest difference where it's not going to be as fluid, bang, 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 shoot a ton of threes, but the volatility of this team's success this year won't be solely based on them having to shoot 37% from three.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, that was the big thing, right? And we talked about it before. If you show me a box score from last year, I'll tell you if they won the game or not. It was really night and day, the difference between, depending on what their 3-point percentage was. I'm going to say, again, I agree with everything Karter said. I think Kevin Young may be a little more, more inclined to make adjustments on the fly in game. It seemed like Pope kind of stuck with his guns to the very end, and it was really just like, we're going to shoot, and if we can make them, we're going to win this game. If not, on to the next one kind of deal. Kevin Young,
and stick with rotations,
right, and not answer questions about it. Kevin Young, he's built this really great coaching staff around him, a lot of experience, a lot of guys that I think he genuinely counts on and relies on, and I think he listens to them. And again, I'm not saying Mark Pope didn't do that, but I think that, there's like two or three guys on this team who in their own rights could be head coaches elsewhere, right? And maybe they'll get that opportunity. I think it'll be a much more, let's hear from everyone, let's talk about what we're seeing, let's make adjustments. He has guys who are on offense and who are on defense, almost like coordinators in football. I don't believe Mark Pope necessarily had that. So it's going to look more like an NBA coaching staff, right? And we've heard that from Kevin Young. So that's what I would say. Great question.
Yeah, short answer for me. Reliance on the 3-ball. I don't think they'll be as reliant on the 3-ball this year.
Agreed.
All right, is that the end of the question?
It's the end of the question. Yeah, great question, Dane. Thanks for asking.
All right. Last one. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on the screen as well. We'll have all these on here. I'm excited for this one. Shout out our guy Tyler Gregory, the man, the myth, the legend himself. At Tyler_Gregory11, he asked, I said, when I put this out, I said, you can ask anything. We can do restaurant. We literally ask us anything. So he asked us anything, that's for sure. Let's start off with his BYU question first. So his BYU question is also, what's the most important or underrated / important game on the schedule this year? I think it's Providence, right?
I know. You want to, if you say Providence, go ahead and talk about that, because I have a different one in mind.
Providence for me is just because it's the first true road test, and then that'll really let us tell us, okay, can this team win in a Big-12-like environment and give us a good look into conference play. I guess the other one you could mention is probably the San Diego tournament.
Yeah.
But Kansas at home for recruiting purposes, maybe?
All these are good, and it takes a season to figure out when these are important. I'm looking at this away stretch in February where they have to play Cincinnati on Saturday and West Virginia on Tuesday. East Coast trip, they'll be traveling a long way. Cincinnati right now is ranked. Who knows what they're going to look like at that point in February, but right now they're ranked. Can they go and steal? They got to win. They don't have to, but you're looking to win one of those, right? And it's going to be a real test for this team. Long road trip out of the East Coast. What are they made of? All right, we're going to really kind of see what they're going to look like traveling and in a grind of February. That's what I was thinking.
Yep. All right. I agree with that. But let's get to the funny part of the question, or I guess not funny.
This is serious. What do you mean?
This is very serious. There's a girl I went out with a couple years ago, but ended up friend zoning me. She recently hit me up through a dating app and wants to hang out. What's my course of action, Chase?
First off, this is a win, Tyler. She friend zoned you before. Now she's hitting you up again. All right. So right there's a win. You've played the game. She sees you as someone that she actually shouldn't have friend zoned. At least that's what it seems like. I don't know the whole situation. All right. What's your course of action? Well, I don't even know if you like her, Tyler. I'm assuming you do. That's why you're asking. So, hey, why not just see if she wants to hang out? If she brought it up to you, play the whole, I don't know.
He's got to be the cool guy.
Yeah, I'm busy. I'm busy. Okay, fine. We can do this day, play a little hard to get. She friend zoned you. She deserves a little bit of that back. But if you really like her, you got to hang out with her. You got to do it, right?
Yeah, 100%. Friend zoning, brutal. Yeah, couple years, but that's 2 years ago, man. Look, and yeah, I'm not gonna say what I was about to say, but
why not?
Screw it, I'll say it. We can cut it out. We have editors. you don't know what happened in a 2-year stretch. Maybe she got married and divorced, and now she's crawling up back the Tyler tree and just like, oh, hey, Tyler, I like what we're seeing here. I like what we got going. No, you mentioned you got to play the cool guy here, though. You gotta play a little hard to get. You cannot sit there. If she comes back and you're like, yes, please, let's hang out. It's a bad sign, brother.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, he commented this Monday, so I'm hoping he hasn't said anything yet. Like,
yeah, and that alone is the win there. That alone, not replying for 4 days, but sorry, I was busy, I didn't see anything. I definitely wasn't watching two idiots on a BYU podcast, you know.
Hopefully, she's not a listener. Am I right? Then she'll know exactly who we're talking about.
I think it'd be funny at that point to give him something to talk about at dinner.
That's true. No, not only is she's climbing back up the Tyler tree, which again, like,
yep,
you know, means that he's made improvements, right? I don't think he needed it. Tyler, you're awesome, dude. But like, dude, you're showing something that she likes, which is a win, which is a good job. So
I love it. Man. If you have questions throughout the season, anytime, any place, anywhere, the Zach Wilson headband or whatever, DM us, comment on Twitter, or email us at churchballpod@gmail.com. We'll answer your questions anytime, any place, whatever that Zach Wilson headband said. Maybe we need to put that on the graphic. How
anytime, anywhere, any place, man. We love to hear from you guys. Comment, email. We love we love answering questions. We love doing our own version of life advice. So please keep interacting. It's really more fun when you guys are into it. So we appreciate it.
100%. And also, Chase, we have some fun stuff planned on the horizon very, very soon come, hopefully. So stay tuned for that next week. Chase, we're back to two days a week. We're doing 2 days a week for the whole season, and we're back. It might even end up being three sometimes, depending on how good this team is. You never know. Maybe we have to do live reaction spaces all the time. We'll find out, but we'll be here all season long. Make sure to follow at ChurchBallPod on everything. At Chase_Roger0. Shout out not being shadow banned anymore, Chase. I don't know what your political tweets were, but my goodness.
Thank you.
And then at Karter_B8 on my own personal Twitter. At ChurchBallPod. Once again, follow. And we will see y'all next week for the preseason game. How about that?
Let's do it.